going on, everyone? I am Evan Tuerck'd and welcome to my garage. We're here, we got my 240 in back of me. And we also got my JZX. Right now, I really want to focus on the 240. A couple months ago, I decided that the car is basically a turd. It was completely thrown together 5 years ago when I built it back in 17. I cut some corners and it's starting to rust, the chassis, the subframe. It's time to build it up to a proper, reliable car. But first off, we're gonna get it up on jack stands, get the bumpers off of it, do a compression test, do a leak down test, see how healthy it is, yank it out, go from there. All right, y'all, we got the old Harbor Freight Special compression tester. We're gonna give it a go, see how hurt this SR20 is. Not looking good. The numbers are in, they're pretty low. I noticed when I was cranking it, it wasn't cranking well, and so I checked the battery and it only had like 10 volts. I don't have a battery charger, so I brought it to the nearest auto parts store. Hopefully in about an hour, I'll have the battery back with a full charge and we can see what numbers this thing is actually putting out. All right, we got a fresh battery with 12.58 volts. Let's do this again. As I expected, not good. Be sending this block away to be rebuilt. It's chilly in here. I think maybe we should get the heat going. All right, come over here. This little switch right here. Turn this dial. Oh yeah. All right, let's get this drive shaft off of here. All right, we got the drive shaft disconnected from the differential. Now we want to jack up the transmission, and then we're gonna disconnect the cross member here so we can get this engine out. All right, we got the cross member off. Now let's go up and get the shifter out of the transmission. All right, now let's do the engine mounts. The hole underneath is just covered in oil. So much blow by at the Lime Rock event at Grid Life. This whole area is just saturated in oil. We're gonna fix that, get that block rebuilt. All right, one of the last things we gotta do is disconnect the fuel lines. I wouldn't really recommend using these channel locks. Might wreck the hose, but the hose is gonna get replaced with AM lines anyway, so I don't mind. All right, let's yank this sucker out. Well, that was easier than I thought. Now, I don't have impact sockets, but sometimes you just gotta use what you got. Got the clutch off, ACT, 6-puck, looking actually in good condition. I'd say overall, I might even just put this thing back on for next year. Flywheel's looking just a little rusty, get that cleaned up. This is not sketchy. What's going on, everyone? We're back in the shop today and it is time to tear this SR20 down, get the block over to my buddies at Select Speed Shop, and then they're gonna send it to Mazworks for me, get it rebuilt. Let's get to it. Little 2871R action, 6.4 housing. What's going on, everyone? We're back in my shop today, continuing to tear down my Nissan 240SX. Got the engine out, the trans. I dropped the rear subframe out, dropped it off at EVG Performance. I got the body panels left. I got the hatch, side skirts, dash, all the wiring and electronics, fuel tank in the back. So we're gonna get to it. All right, we're gonna continue disassembly of the two front corners. Get the suspension off the car so we can get the power steering rack out and the front cross member. I think these are the original tension rods from DG Trials, which was Club Loose before Club Loose became Club Loose. These gotta be 15 years old. Still good, but I think it's still time for an upgrade, and I'll just keep these as spares. This side's done. I'm gonna go around to the other one. You don't really need to see that, so I'll see you on the next thing. All right, we are moving on to taking off the body panels. Already got the side skirts off, get the front fenders off, and then we'll move on to the rear over fenders. What's going on, everyone? It is day 6 of working on this 240. Kind of wanted to show you how janky this thing is, how stoked I am to get this junk out and get some nice parts in it and a nice wiring harness. Old wiring harness. I mean, it's really not that bad. It was nicely done. It's really not the grade that I want it to be. I'd like it to be a lot nicer. I actually hired Hartsock Motorsports to do a full motorsports package on this thing. Link ECU with a Link dash, SR20 engine harness, bulkhead through the firewall, and then coming into the chassis harness for the fuel pump and rear lights. Take a look at this janky ass interior. Got my vitals here though. Old school JDM Power FC, ARC hot rod panel. That's all gotta go. That Power FC is just outdated. There's no fail safes. It's a little crusty, it's starting to rust. We're gonna get that fixed up once we get this thing on the ground and over to sandblasting. All right, we're gonna take the doors off. Let's get to it. Some dumbass stripped this bolt on this fender. That dumbass is probably me. To get the door off, I had to go through here with a wrench through the fender to get these bolts off. And now I got room to come in here with the grinder, grind this sucker off. All right, moving on to the chassis harness. I already started disconnecting it. Rear here, I'm gonna start taking it off the P-clamps that it's holding onto the side there. Get all the wiring out of this thing. It's the end of an era right here. A janky era. Also the end of an era, running a factory gauge cluster. Apex Power FC. This used to be the holy grail in the mid to late 2000s. What's going on, everyone? We are back at my garage today and we are ready to roll the chassis out. Perks of the family business. Got a power washing truck here. We are going to hit all of my body panels, roll my chassis out, degrease that, and then random parts. Oh, it should be interesting getting this thing back in there. What's going on, everyone? Back in the shop. A couple things I want to do. I want to measure these holes in the firewall. Grab the digital caliper so I can measure the inside diameter of those holes. And then my buddy George at Select Speed Shop is going to have some pieces of metal laser cut. A lot easier to have a shop do that. Got the caliper unpackaged, got the battery in it. Gonna zero it out and get to measuring. Now, the second thing I want to do before I drop this thing off at Select Speed Shop, get rid of this cat hump. If any of you are familiar with the 240 SX chassis, at least an S13, there's this big hump on the driver's side for the catalytic converter on the exhaust. Of course, that thing is long gone. MA Motorsports' sister company, Alaria Technical, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, they just came out with this cat hump delete panel. Now I gotta cut out the cat hump, and since I can't weld, that's where Select Speed Shop comes in. Now we got a wire wheel on so we can grind away the paint and make the factory spot welds more visible. Success! Now that we got this hunk of metal out of here, I can move on to cutting out the factory cat hump. I made an initial marking right here. That's gonna save me from cutting into the transmission cross member that's underneath. And whoops, forgot to hit record. I already started cutting into this. Looks like I'm all at a cutoff disc. Gonna have to run to the store and then go round 2 on this sucker.
All right, that concludes the first episode. I know it's a little rough, still getting used to talking on the camera. Car is no longer here. It's on its way to get fabrication for the fuel cell done, and then on its way to sandblast. So you'll see all that in episode 2. Should be a lot more interesting. I'll see you in episode 2. Later.